It's very clear that this individual was harassing and impeding law enforcement operations. Our officer followed his training, did exactly what he's been taught to do in that situation, and took actions to defend himself and defend his fellow law enforcement officers.
Today, rising tensions in Minneapolis after an ICE officer fatally shot a woman, DHS declaring it self-defense as the city's Democratic mayor fans the flames, saying he's not buying it.
Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull to ICE. Get the out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
Fox News contributor and George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley joining us now. And Jonathan, I hear the mayor, but does it seem that he's prejudging an investigation, calling BS on self-defense?
Griff, he certainly is doing that, and it's reckless, and it's a repeat of what we've seen in the past, where these Democratic politicians rush to feed the rage, and the result is often riots. The fact is that under the standard of Tennessee versus Garner, this does appear to be a justified shooting. Doesn't mean that that's how it will work out. We need to see the ultimate conclusions of the investigation. It'd be good to see some more videos. But what we have so far does seem to meet that standard. You can slow down the video. I mean, many of these people on the internet are slowing it down, making it look like these officers had time to go get coffee, debate what to do, come back and shot the woman in the head. I mean, the fact is that this was a blink of time. It was not a second, it was a fraction of a second. And the courts have said repeatedly that they don't second guess these split-second decisions. They look at whether an officer could reasonably believe that he was in danger and others might be in danger from this action. Now, I expect there will be lawsuits here. It does appear that Good was trying to evade, to flee from the officer. She was told to get out of her vehicle. You are not allowed to shoot someone in flight simply because they're in flight. But if a car is barreling towards an officer, that car may be treated as a weapon under the governing case law.
And so let's walk that back just a little bit, because on the flip side, it occurs to me, correct me if I'm wrong, you're the lawyer, I'm not. First of all, you cannot impede or obstruct a federal immigration action investigation. She's got her car in front of the ICE vehicle and blocking it. Second, when instructed to step out of the car to make an arrest, she disobeys, also not legal. And then thirdly, she speeds away. And if, as Paul Morrow said, the shots were fired through the windshield, that would put the officer in the line of the path of the danger of the speeding away car. Have I got that correct?
You do, Griff, and I've represented legal observers at protests, and I have to say, this is not the conduct of a legal observer. This is someone who is obstructing. This is someone who's a participant. When I've represented legal observers in the past, we often stress that these are individuals who are trained not to put themselves in the path of officers, not to become part of the protest, but to do as they are claimed to be doing, that is to observe. So I don't think the legal observer status is going to have an impact here. In terms of the outcome of the case. Now, in terms of what happened before, it is the totality of the circumstances. These officers were dealing with a mob that had formed when they were trying to get a stuck car out of the snow. This person was blocking them. She did disobey orders. Now, having said that, flight alone is not sufficient, but under Tennessee versus Garner, if in that flight she is barreling towards an officer, he is allowed to protect his life and the life of others. So I don't think this is going to work for people like the mayor and the governor suggesting that this is murder. It's not. Also, they cannot try this officer in state court. He has immunity. What you may see is civil lawsuits from the family, and that's going to hash out exactly that critical moment and whether the officer was justified. But from these videos, he does appear to be within the standard of Tennessee versus Garner.
And it does appear that at least the director of the Department of Public Safety in Minnesota says they're not commenting because anything else would be speculation. The local leaders, the mayor, the governor, apparently not heeding that advice. Jonathan Turley, thank you for your insight, as always.
Thank you, Griff. Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.